I found out on a Tuesday, not from my son, not from his wife, from a piece of mail addressed to someone else, delivered to my house by mistake, opened by me because the return address said County Recorder's Office, and my name was nowhere on the envelope. Inside was a transfer confirmation, my house, my address, transferred 6 weeks earlier to a woman named Brianna Calloway Holt. Brianna Calloway Holt is my daughter-in-law. I sat at my kitchen table for 11 minutes. I know it was 11 minutes because the clock on the microwave said 9:04 when I opened the envelope and 9:15 when I picked up the phone. I did not call my son. I called my attorney. My name is Vivian. I am 69 years old. I live, or I thought I lived, in a house I have owned since 1988. 36 years. I bought it alone, before I married, before my son was born, before any of the things that followed. I bought it on a librarian's salary with a down payment I had saved for 4 years by eating lunch at my desk and taking the bus. The house is small. 3 bedrooms, a front porch, a garden in the back that I have planted and replanted every spring for 36 years. It is not worth a fortune. It is worth enough. In this city, enough has become considerable. My son's name is Marcus. He is 42. His wife, Brianna, is 38. They have 2 children, my grandchildren, Jade and Noah, who are 9 and 6 and who call me Grandma Viv, and have absolutely nothing to do with any of this. I want to say that clearly. The children have nothing to do with this. What happened was between Marcus and Brianna and a real estate attorney I had never met, and a document I had never been told I was signing. 8 months before the Tuesday, I found the envelope. I had a stroke. Minor. That was the word the doctors used. Minor stroke. Left side weakness, some speech difficulty, full recovery expected. I was in the hospital for 11 days. Marcus came every day. Brianna came 4 times. The children came twice, which was the right number for children seeing their grandmother with tubes in her arm. I was frightened. I will say that plainly. I am 69 years old, and I was alone in a hospital bed and frightened in the way you are frightened when you suddenly understand that your body has opinions of its own and will act on them without asking. Marcus sat beside me on day 3 and held my hand and said, "Mom, I need you to not worry about anything. I'm going to take care of everything while you're here." I said, "I know, sweetheart." He said, "I might need you to sign a couple of things, just practical stuff, power of attorney, so I can handle your bills while you recover." I said, "Of course." He said, "There's also a couple of forms about property, just standard protective paperwork in case anything happens." I said, "Whatever you need." I signed 3 documents over the next 4 days. My hand was weak. My vision was slightly blurred from the medication. Marcus held each paper in place while I signed. He pointed to the signature line. He did not read the documents aloud. He did not leave them with me overnight. I did not ask him to. I trusted my son. That is the sentence I have to live with. I trusted my son. My attorney's name is Sandra Obi. She is 51, precise, and has the voice of a woman who has heard every version of every family betrayal and stopped being surprised by any of them approximately 15 years ago. I called her at 9:15 on that Tuesday morning. I read her the transfer confirmation over the phone, word for word. She was quiet for 4 seconds. "Vivian," she said, "don't touch anything in that envelope. Don't call Marcus. Don't call Brianna. Can you be in my office at 11? "Yes," I said. "Good. Bring every document you signed in the hospital, every single one." "Sandra, I don't have copies." Another pause. "Then we'll get them. Come at 11. I drove to her office. My hands were completely steady on the wheel. I noticed that. I noticed that my hands, which had trembled for 3 weeks after the stroke, were steady on this particular morning. Grief trembles. Clarity does not. Sandra's office smelled of coffee and fresh paper. She was already at her desk when I arrived. She had a notepad and a pen, and the expression of someone preparing for a fight they intend to win. "Sit," she said. "Tell me everything." I told her everything: the stroke, the hospital, Marcus at my bedside every single day, the 3 documents, the signing, my blurred vision and my weak hand, and my absolute certainty that my son was handling my utility bills. Sandra wrote the entire time. She did not react once. When I finished, she looked up. "Vivian, what I'm about to tell you is going to make you angry. I need you to stay calm, because calm is going to be your greatest asset in the next 30 days. Can you do that?" "Yes," I said. "The transfer document was almost certainly one of the papers you signed in the hospital. A power of attorney drafted broadly enough can authorize a transfer of real property. If Marcus drafted it that way, and if Brianna's attorney executed the transfer within the window of the power of attorney, then technically the transfer may appear valid on its face." I stared at her. "Appear," I said. "Appear," she repeated, "because there are several things that make this transfer directly challengeable. First, you were an acute stroke patient. Your capacity to understand complex legal documents at the time of signing is medically questionable, and we have 11 days of hospital records to prove it. Second, if Marcus presented the document as a routine bill payment authorization, and it was in fact a property transfer instrument, that is fraudulent misrepresentation. Full stop. Third," she tapped her pen on the desk, "your original deed. Do you have it?" "In my filing cabinet," I said. "At home." "Does Marcus have a copy?" "I don't think so." Sandra almost smiled. Almost. "Go home after this meeting. Get the original deed. Bring it back to me today. Do not leave it at your house tonight." I stood up. "Vivian," she said. I looked at her. "Do not call your son. Not yet. Let me make 3 calls first. What we do in the next 24 hours matters more than anything that happens after." I drove home. I went to the filing cabinet in my bedroom, the gray one my late husband Edward had given me when he cleared his office in 2009. I found the folder labeled House in Edward's handwriting, which still looked exactly like him. Inside was the original deed, my name only, exactly as it had been since 1988. I photographed it 3 times with my phone. I drove back to Sandra's office and handed it to her. She looked at it for 30 seconds. Then she put it in her desk drawer and locked it. "We have everything we need to start," she said. "Here is where we stand as of this afternoon." She opened her notepad. "I have submitted an emergency title dispute flag with the county recorder's office. That flag will freeze any further transactions on the property while the dispute is under review. Marcus cannot sell the house. He cannot refinance it. He cannot take out a loan against it. He cannot transfer it again. The property is frozen." I exhaled for the first time since 9:04 that morning. "How long does the freeze last?" I asked. "As long as the dispute is active," she said, "which gives us time. Now let me tell you what happens next." She laid it out in 4 points. She did this the way a doctor explains a procedure, clearly, without softening, because softening helps no one. 1. We would file a formal legal challenge to the transfer on 3 grounds: fraud, undue influence, lack of informed consent due to medical incapacity at the time of signing. 2. We would request a complete copy of every document signed during my hospitalization from Marcus's attorney. If he refused to produce them voluntarily, we would subpoena them within 48 hours. 3. We would obtain my full hospital records from all 11 days of admission, every neurological assessment, every medication log, every notation about my cognitive and physical state. All of it. 4. A formal letter would go to Marcus and Brianna through counsel, not a phone call, not a conversation over dinner. A letter, delivered by certified mail, that stated plainly we knew about the transfer and were pursuing every available legal remedy. "When does Marcus find out I know?" I asked. "Wednesday," Sandra said, "when the letter arrives. And until Wednesday?" "Until Wednesday, Vivian, you know something he doesn't know you know. That is your advantage. Don't give it away." I nodded. "One more thing," she said. "I have to ask you something, and I need an honest answer." "Go ahead." "Is there any possibility Marcus genuinely believed you had agreed to this? Any conversation in the hospital, anything you said that he could have interpreted as permission?" I thought about it. Seriously, I owed the question that much. "I told him he could take care of my bills while I was in the hospital," I said. "That's it?" "That's it." "You never discussed transferring the house?" "Never. Not once. Not before the stroke. Not during. Not ever." Sandra wrote it down. She underlined it. "Then we proceed," she said. The letter arrived at Marcus's house Wednesday at 10:18 a.m. Sandra's courier service sent a confirmation with a timestamp. Marcus called me at 10:31. I did not answer. He called 4 more times before noon. I did not answer any of them. At 12:47, Brianna called from her own number. I did not answer. At 2:15, Marcus left a voicemail. I played it once, standing in my kitchen with my coffee going cold on the counter. Mom, I need you to call me back. I got a letter from a lawyer, and I need to talk to you. This is, Mom, whatever you think happened, I can explain it. Just please call me." "Whatever you think happened, not whatever happened, whatever you think happened." I called Sandra immediately. I played her the voicemail over the phone. "Save it," she said. "Do not delete it. Do not respond to him." "He said whatever I think happened," I told her. "I heard," she said. "That phrase is going straight into the file. Don't answer him tonight." I didn't. Marcus came to my house Thursday evening. He rang the doorbell at 6:47. I saw him through the front window before I answered. He was alone, no Brianna. He was still in his work shirt, untucked, wrinkled. He had not shaved. I opened the door halfway. "Mom," he said, "please, can we talk?" "You can sit on the porch," I said. "I'll bring chairs." I brought 2 kitchen chairs. We sat on the porch the way we used to sit on summer evenings when he was young, except now there was a legal filing between us, and he had his hands pressed together, and he looked like a man waiting to hear his sentence. "Tell me," I said, "what you thought you were doing." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Brianna found an article online about asset protection for elderly parents. It said that if a parent has a medical event and owns property, the house can get tied up in probate or Medicaid recovery if they need long-term care. Brianna said the safest way to protect it was to transfer it now, while you were in the hospital, so it would be legally protected." I looked at him. "She said it was to protect your asset," he said. "Into her name," I said. He flinched. "Yes. Not your name. Hers." He said nothing. "Marcus, whose name is on that transfer document?" "Brianna's," he said quietly. "Not yours." "No. Not mine." "No. Brianna Calloway Holt." "Yes." I let that sit on the porch between us for a full 10 seconds. "Did you read the document before I signed it?" I said. A long silence. "Yes," he said. "Did you explain to me what it was?" Longer silence. "I told you it was protective paperwork." "Did you tell me it would transfer ownership of my house, this house, the house I have owned for 36 years, the house you grew up in, into your wife's name?" He put his face in his hands. That was my answer. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Brianna said it was temporary. She said we'd transfer it back the moment you were fully recovered. She said the whole point was just to protect you during the vulnerable period, and then we'd— Marcus, I said. He stopped. Stop telling me what Brianna said. He looked at me. You are 42 years old, I said. You sat next to my hospital bed every day for 11 days. You brought me coffee from the machine down the hall. You held my hand when I was frightened. And then you held a piece of paper against the tray table, and you pointed to the line, and you watched me sign something I did not understand, while my vision was blurred and my hand was shaking. He was crying now, quietly. The kind of crying that comes from shame, not sadness. Whatever Brianna told you, I said, whatever she convinced you of, whatever article she found on whatever website, you are the one who handed me the pen. That is between you and me. That has nothing to do with Brianna. He didn't answer. Here is what happens now, I said. Sandra has filed a formal challenge. The property is frozen. You cannot touch it, sell it, or refinance it while the dispute is active. You have two choices. Choice 1, you contest the challenge. We go to court. That process will take between 8 and 18 months. Everything comes out, every document, every hospital record showing my condition when I signed, every text message between you and Brianna about the transfer, every communication with the real estate attorney. All of it becomes part of a public legal record. He was very still. Choice 2, I said. Brianna signs a quitclaim deed by next Friday. The house returns to my name. We handle this inside the family, and then you and I have a very long, very honest conversation about what comes next for us. He wiped his face. What if Brianna won't sign? He asked. Then Brianna meets me in court, I said. That is Brianna's choice to make, not yours. He stood up slowly, the way people stand up when the weight of something has physically settled into them. He looked at me for a long moment. Mom, he said, I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I know it doesn't fix it. I'm sorry. I know you are, I said. Come back when you have an answer. He walked to his car. I watched him reach the end of the driveway. I watched him get in. I watched him sit there for almost 2 minutes before he started the engine and drove away. I sat on the porch alone. The street was quiet. The roses against the fence were blooming. 36 years of springs in this garden, and every single one of them mine. I went inside. I made tea. I did not cry. The next morning I called Sandra again. Has Marcus's attorney responded? I asked. Not yet, she said, but I received something interesting. Marcus's real estate attorney sent a letter to my office late last night. He claims the transfer was executed in good faith, based on a valid power of attorney, and that any challenge will be vigorously defended. He's going to fight it, I said. His attorney is, Sandra said. That is not the same thing as Marcus fighting it. Give it 48 hours. I gave it 48 hours. On Saturday morning, Marcus called. I answered this time. Mom. His voice was different, quieter. Something had shifted in it overnight. Marcus. I talked to Brianna last night, for a long time. I showed her the hospital records, the nursing notes from the days I brought the documents, the medication log showing what you were on when you signed. He paused. Mom, you were on 2 sedatives and a blood pressure medication that causes cognitive impairment. I didn't know that when I brought the papers. I swear I didn't look it up. But I should have. I should have waited. I should have— Marcus, I said, I know there's nothing I can say. Tell me about Brianna, I said. A long pause. She's scared, he said. She knows what this looks like. She knows what it is. She called it protecting the asset, and I believed her because I wanted to believe her, and because I was scared too after your stroke, and because—" He stopped. "Mom, there is no good reason. There's only the reason, which is that I let her convince me that what we were doing was for you, when what we were doing was for us, for our security, in case you needed long-term care and the house had to be liquidated, in case we lost it." "You were afraid of losing my house," I said. "Yes." "So you took it." The silence after that lasted almost 10 seconds. "Yes," he said. "That's what we did." I set the phone down on the counter for a moment. I looked out the kitchen window at the garden, the roses, the tomatoes starting to come up along the back fence. I picked the phone back up. "Marcus, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to listen to it completely." "Okay." "If you had come to me, if you had sat at this table and said, 'Mom, we are afraid. We are afraid that if you need care, there won't be enough, and we want to talk about how to protect everyone,' I would have listened. I would have called Sandra, and we would have set up a proper legal structure that protected me and gave you some security and was transparent and honest and done correctly. I would have done that." He didn't speak. "Instead," I said, "you took a document to a hospital room where your mother was on sedatives, and you pointed to the line." "I know," he said. "So the thing you were afraid of losing," I said, "you lost anyway, because you cannot inherit trust. You can only earn it, and you cannot earn it by taking." He was quiet for a very long time. Then he said, "I'll tell Brianna to sign." "I know you will," I said, "because it's the right thing to do, not because I'm asking." "Mom," he said, "I'm going to spend a long time being sorry for this." "I know," I said. "That's appropriate." I ended the call. I stood at my kitchen window for a while. The morning was clear. The garden needed watering. I went outside and watered it myself, the way I have watered it every spring for 36 years, and the whole time I thought about what Edward used to say when Marcus was a boy and made a mistake he didn't know how to face. Edward would sit next to him on the couch and say, "The sorry matters less than the afterward. Show me the afterward, Marcus. Show me what comes next." I watered the roses. I watered the tomatoes. I watered the beds along the fence that I had planted from seed in March. I thought about afterward. I thought about what I was willing to let afterward look like. The quitclaim deed arrived at Sandra's office the following Thursday, 8 days after Marcus sat on my porch, 4 days before my deadline. Brianna had signed it. No phone call, no apology, no note, no acknowledgement of any kind. Just a signature on a document, surrendering a house she should never have been given. Sandra called me the moment it arrived. "Vivian," she said, "it's done. The title reverts fully to you as of today's recording date. Your house is your house." I sat down at my kitchen table, the same chair, the same window with the same morning light. "Sandra," I said, "thank you. You did this," she said. "You kept your head. You didn't call him. You didn't negotiate from emotion. You came in with the deed, and you let the law do what the law is for." I thanked her anyway. That was 4 months ago. Marcus calls on Sunday evenings. The calls are short and careful. We talk about the grandchildren. We talk about small things. We do not talk about the hospital. We do not talk about Brianna, who has not called me since the deed was signed, and who I have not asked about because some silences are the most honest communication available. Jade and Noah come on Saturdays. They heat everything in my kitchen and run through the garden and call me Grandma Viv, and I love them completely and without reservation because they are 9 and 6 and entirely innocent. The original deed is in Sandra's office safe now, not my filing cabinet. Sandra's safe. I learned something about filing cabinets. I walk through my house every morning, all 3 bedrooms, the front porch, the kitchen with the microwave clock that read 9:04 on a Tuesday morning 8 months ago. I walk through it all, and for the first time since the hospital, I walk through it without the feeling that something was quietly taken while I was frightened and trusting and had a pen in my shaking hand. Because I looked, because I kept the deed, because I called my attorney before I called my son, because grief trembles and clarity does not, and because somewhere in the county recorder's office my name is back on a document in a house that has been mine since 1988. It will stay mine until I decide otherwise. No one else gets to make that decision, not ever again.